Hi, I'm Sam Edith.
And I'm Amy Nelson. Welcome to What's Her Story with Sam and Amy.
This is a show about the world's most remarkable women, their professional and personal journeys.
Together, we'll hear from gold medalists, best-selling authors, and leaders of the world's most iconic brands.
Listen every Thursday or join the conversation anytime on Instagram at What's Her Story Podcast.
Meaghan Murphy is the editor-in-chief of Woman's Day magazine and the author of Your Fully Charged Life, a radically simple approach to having endless energy and filling every day with yay.
So, Meaghan, what made you write this book?
So it's like a culmination probably of 25 years of using myself as a guinea pig and road testing happiness strategies on myself to ultimately live in a way that's fully charged. But what actually lit the fire to put pen to paper and actually physically write the book was my dad's pancreatic cancer diagnosis. He was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Wasn't looking good, and I had gone to chemo with him one day. And in that moment, I was like, Dad, I'm not giving up. I love you, but how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be? And in asking him that, it also gave me pause to ask myself the same question. And when I did, I realized that I wanted to be remembered for a legacy of positive energy. Because I'm somebody who started out nicknamed Neggy, had really tumultuous teen years, was hospitalized for an eating disorder. My best friend committed suicide. I struggled. And I have trained very hard to live with optimism and joy and grit and grace. And I knew the tools that work for me would work for other people. And I wanted to share those things.
Going back to earlier in your life, when you struggled with anorexia, when you lost your best friend, when you were a teenager, you've also said that you started life out as a grump, like your nickname was Grumpy.
Legit. I have a necklace. I still have it.
Tell us about that. Like, what tools did you use to be grumpy?
Well, I'm inherently negative. My negativity bias, and all of our negativity biases, is strong. But I was programmed for negativity. I mean, I was glass half empty. Now I realize the glass is refillable, but that took years. And it was just my disposition. I had a loving home, a loving middle-class home, a really nice life, but everything was doom and gloom. It was just how I was wired. And it took work. It took a lot of work to actually retrain my brain and to learn to live differently. But I didn't have to work hard, and I don't have to work hard to be negative now, right? I mean, it's easy to slip into those habits because I am primarily programmed for negativity, as are most of us.
Being around you, that's the last thing anyone would ever expect to hear, right? On the surface, you're always yay and you're high-fiving and you're almost have like a cheerleader, a stereotypical cheerleader's personality. But there's so much depth to how you became that way. And I think that's what's so interesting about your book is to understand that depth, because then it makes it so meaningful. I think right now we hear so much about toxic positivity. Is that something you've been accused of? How do you manage those kind of naysayers?
Oh, sure. I actually love the naysayers, right? I high five the haters. It's part of my MO. But I do laugh about this because, like, if you were to ask my neighbor from Ascot Lane, Paula Krause, about little Megan Buchanan, I used to sit on the corner and stick my tongue out at people. Like, that was a pastime. I would sit on the corner and stick my tongue out at anybody who drove by. So Paula Krause has delighted in my transformation, but is the first person to be like, oh, no. She was a pain in the ass. She was a negative, nasty little kid. And so I laugh about it. But I love talking about toxic positivity, right? Because I think it's really important to understand toxic positivity. My friend Sit With Wit on Instagram has a new book out called Toxic Positivity, and she was on my podcast. Like, we love that we are unlikely friends, right? I am the queen of positive energy, and she has a book called Toxic Positivity. I think the real distinction is, and it's so important for people to understand, is toxic positivity only looks on the bright side. It's those BS platitudes like, don't worry, be happy, good vibes only. The truth is, it's good vibes mostly. And it's having a toolkit to be able to recognize the stuff that sucks, because there's a lot of stuff that sucks. Absolutely recognize it, process it, but have a fully charged toolkit to handle it and then move onward. That's the difference. There are mornings when I wake up and I don't want to get out of bed. I'm really struggling, right? There's so much negativity being blasted at me. The difference now is I understand there are things I can do to move the happiness needle. And I use those tools on a daily basis. I am absolutely not somebody who, I mean, will ever, those platitudes kill me. Good vibes only is like the most disgusting phrase on the universe. Do not ignore those bad feelings. Express them, share them, get them out. But the key is onward.
You talk about a lot of different tools in your book, but I wanted to ask you, what is the most important tool to you?
So it's interesting, and I love this because the tools, I love when readers are like, this worked for me, that worked for me, because it's always surprising what works for other people, and you never really know what your secret sauce is going to be. I think one of the most important tools in my toolkit is gratitude. I believe having an attitude of gratitude, making a gratitude adjustment is one of the keys to life. If you found a truly grateful person, that person would be happy. There's no such thing as a miserable, grateful person, because when you pause and appreciate the good in your life and the good in the world, you function differently. And so for me, it took me a while to actually adopt a gratitude practice, because when I looked at those traditional methods of practicing gratitude, like, I can't keep a gratitude journal. Like, that is homework. I have 3 kids. With math, that's like carry the one. I do enough homework, right? Like, I don't want anything that feels homeworky. And so I couldn't do it. And so I had to trick myself into adopting a gratitude practice. And it was truly transformational for me. And it goes back to my dad's pancreatic cancer diagnosis. It was a very pivotal transitional moment in my life where, again, I was like, I don't want to get out of bed. I know from the work of Dr. Martin Seligman and the Perma Theory of Wellness that gratitude is something that if I can harness it, it's going to help me get out of bed, and it's going to help me move through these really crappy times with grit and grace. And so I knew I had to adopt a gratitude practice, but I needed to hack it. I needed to fun filter it so that I would actually do it. And that's when I started something called Operation Good Grief, which was this active and conscious thing that every day I would look for something that didn't suck. And when I say didn't suck, because that's how it started. Like, I really didn't want to get out of bed, and I had 3 little kids, and I knew I had to learn how to function. So it would be this process of like, what doesn't suck today? And it would be daffodils. Oh my God, the daffodils at the end of my little walk finally bloomed. Or it'd be a really killer workout tank that said, you're stronger than you think you are, that powered me through the day. I would take a picture of it. I would capture it. I would share it on social media, because guess what? Sharing that, those good things, makes them even stickier. And I kept that up for 2 years, even after my dad passed. And I began to more automatically see good things, not just things that didn't suck, but good things. And what I was really doing at my core was practicing gratitude and developing a gratitude practice. And when I moved through the darkest parts of my grief, I reframed it a bit. I started calling it finding the yay. And I started creating a yay list every day. And it was, what makes me say yay today? And I would find 5, 10, 15 things, because I was rewiring my brain for gratitude. And I adopted it with my kids. So when we sit at dinner every night, what made you say yay today? Before I tuck them in, got any more yays? Like, what were your yays today? And it's a fun, filtered, easy way to adopt a gratitude practice. And the scientific benefits of practicing gratitude, having a grateful heart, are undeniable. I mean, it's everything from managing stress to having better health outcomes, being more likely to exercise and eat right. I mean, gratitude is legitimately the secret sauce. And I feel like we only talk about it at Thanksgiving, right? But like, gratitude is important. And I think it's the greatest tool in my toolkit. And I'm very proud and grateful to practice it with so much
I
ease right
do
now.
kind of laugh when I think of your kids are younger than mine. I always see them on Instagram, but if I sat at my dinner table with my teenagers and said, "What made you say yay today?" they would like be ill because they get so frustrated with me because they already think I'm so positive and it drives them crazy sometimes. But what is the trick, obviously, in your own home? Like you have three kids, three different personalities, I imagine. When you see glimpses of Megan's childhood personality in any of them in terms of the negativity or the grumpiness, how do you manage that?
So it's interesting because I think my youngest son is totally a grump. So we do the okay, you can tell me something bad, but you have to tell me two good things first. And so he's still actively looking for good things to share with me because he knows he can't complain and he can't share the hassles until he at least gives me two
I
good
love that.
things. And so he's learned it's funny because I've seen this transformation. So he is still he's allowed to see the crap, but we're sandwiching it with the good stuff. And so he's actively finding that good stuff. And listen, my daughter rolls her eyes at me, but this has been the way they've grown up. So as much as she rolls her eyes at me, when I get a glimpse of her doing something with her friends where she's like, okay, well that makes me say yay, or she's doing parroting or echoing a little bit about what we do at home, I'm like, haha. I don't point it out, but I'm like, yes, mom win.
Do you do this with your friends?
It's funny. My husband is like, there doesn't always have to be a life lesson. You don't always have to coach everybody. You don't always, like have to have these deep and meaningful interactions. But I can't always help it. And I think the funny thing is good energy is so contagious. And so I do approach life with so much optimism and joy that I bring that out of people naturally. It's not that we don't also have, a cry session or a bitch fest, but it always comes full circle where it's like, okay, but not everything sucks. Let's talk about your good hair day, right?
Did your husband know you before the transformation or only post transformation?
No, so my husband is my brother's best friend. So we've known each other since second grade, but I'm 4 years older. So growing up, it was like, ew, I'm in eighth grade and you're in fourth grade. Clearly, we're not making out. I'm a senior, you're a freshman in high school. Gross. We even went to the same college, and my brother and him lived across the street. We didn't get together, and I had set him up. Like, he's the best guy. I would try to, like, find him a date. It wasn't until we were both living in Hoboken years later, and my brother would have us over for Sunday dinner, that I was like, ooh, we were reading the same book. He was reading a little Million Little Pieces by James Fry, and I was reading the same book. And I was like, he reads? He's like hot, tall, kind, and he
Oh,
reads? It was like, I was like swooning. And then I called my sister. I remember like leaving my brother's and like, Pat Murphy reads. And she was like, okay, get it together. Don't you dare. That's Kevin's best friend. And then the next dinner, he also used a lot of salt. And I did never want it to be judged for my salt intake. And I have low blood pressure, so suck it. But he also used a lot of salt. And I realized I would never be judged for my salt intake. And I was smitten. I was absolutely smitten. And ultimately, we like were out to dinner with my brother and a bunch of their friends. And I put my hand on his thigh under the table, and that was it.
Oh my goodness. That is super
Listen,
gutsy.
well, Sam, I was a Cosmo editor for 4 years, or lest you
yeah.
forget.
This is
You'd
like
been in training.
right.
So,
Like,
Helen Gurley Brown and Kate White, they taught me
That's
well.
so funny.
what did he do when you put? What did he do when you put your hand on his thigh?
It was like green light go. Green light go. We were like making out in an ATM machine like an hour later. But then we secretly dated because we didn't want. Basically, I was like, listen, I am a former Cosmo girl. Like, marriage and babies is not really on my horizon. Like, let's just make sure we really like each other before Kevin, my brother, like loses his shit. So we secretly dated, which made it even hotter, right? Like we would rendezvous. It was
Mhm.
like, and it was like that early dating where you like stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like it was, I was done. I knew I was done.
Aw, and how did Kevin react?
It was
Oh,
awful. I can remember because somebody caught us like making out. We couldn't stop making out. We were making out everywhere. And somebody saw us making out because it was like 20 years of buildup, right? I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. Um, and so my brother didn't find out from us, which made it
Yeah.
worse. And my brother was like, there's no good outcome to this unless you get married and have 3 kids. Ultimately, he was the best man, and his speech was hilarious because it's exactly what happened. But I didn't have a good track record. Like I was not the girl who wanted the white dress and the like I didn't have those girly fantasies. So my brother was like, "Oh, great,
How old were you at the time?
29." Yeah. Yeah. And I had been through like maybe 15, 20 boyfriends. I mean, like it was not. It was not. I can just remember my father's relief when Pat, like when he proposed, my dad was like, okay. Oh, because my family loves Pat. I mean, like he's been a part of our family since I was a little kid. So, and like family love fest. My mom and his mom have been friends for 100 years in the book club together, the whole nine. So it was pretty magic when it all kind of worked out. I feel very lucky.
so
That's
you're
amazing.
unusual for the authors we interview because you have a very full-time day job as the editor-in-chief of
Yeah.
Women's Day magazine. How do you manage that? And was there ever a conflict between, okay, this is my separate life as an author, and here's my life as editor-in-chief?
So I guess the interesting part of all of it is like, so I took over. I was the executive editor of Good Housekeeping for 6 or 7 years. I took over Woman's Day in March 2020, March 12th, 2020,
Oh,
lockdown.
the day before the
So
world ended.
yeah, yeah. So I never did the job in person. I've never been in an office with my team. I never did the job in person. My book was due April 2020. So we go on lockdown. I am revamping, re-energizing a magazine, finishing a book, and now homeschooling 3 kids. It's one of those moments where I look back and think, pretty sure I don't know how that happened. Like I actually don't know how I did it.
Meanwhile, like the
It
rest of
was
the
just
world was
like,
watching Tiger King, and you're you're
oh
facing
my
all these
gosh.
deadlines.
It was it was insane. I guess I'm good in. I always say I must just be good in crisis because it's like okay, it's go time. No stewing, just doing. It's go time. Got it all done, and the magazine's been very successful under my watch. So I've never really said like, can I do both or how do you do both? I just do it, and someday HR might call, but right now everybody leaves me alone.
Oh my goodness.
You talk a lot about in-person connection and the value of that. How have you managed to handle your team remotely this entire time and gain the respect necessary as the chief?
It's pretty wild. Um, I think we've been very effective virtually. I think it's going to almost be like strange to finally like be together all the time. But when we did, so we do go back on some Mondays and Tuesdays, and when we have been in person, like we've had a really fun lunch and a brainstorm and like come up with some pretty kooky ideas that we probably wouldn't have come up with otherwise. So I think I have the luxury of having been very established in my career at this point of lockdown. I feel for young people in their career. Like I don't need to network. I've been networking for 25 years. I know everybody and I have wonderful connections. I feel for the young people, the young assistants, the young editors because I don't know how you do what I've done for 25 years completely virtually.
How do you bring the tools from the book into the workplace?
Sure. Well, I think a big thing that I'm proud of is that I fun filter life. and I think I fun filter work for my team. My one of my art people said the most amazing thing to me the other day, and it was, I've never had so much fun on the job. And I was like, oh my God, heart exploding, because that's my goal. I feel very strongly that what we're doing doesn't actually matter, right? Like, we can do it differently tomorrow. We can do it differently next week. We can do it differently next month. Let's do the best we can right here, right now, and be proud of it. But let's not stress it. Let's not angst it. Let's not overthink it. Let's just have fun. Because if we're having fun, the audience is going to have fun with us. And I try to very much bring that kind of levity and light to everything we're doing, because we don't cure cancer. We entertain and inform and excite people, and that's a privilege. But it needs to be fun in the process.
How do you handle a negative coworker or colleague who, you're in that virtual meeting and there's just someone who just seems like they're kind of emitting negative energy, and they're kind of putting down everyone's ideas?
I think energy begets energy. Nobody brings that to my table. And I'm really proud of that. And the same thing, like, even people always say, oh, social media is so this or it's so that. I don't find that. Like, nobody is bringing that negative energy to me, because they know I won't put up with it. I don't want it. I shut it down. I have like this force field. And I don't want to deal with that. Now, that's not to say we can't have conflict and we can't have discussions and we can't have disagreements. But you have to approach all of those disagreements and those discussions with a positive attitude, with optimism that we're going to find a solution that we're all really excited about.
Right. And should we go to our speed round now?
Yeah, I think we should. Who leaves you starstruck?
Who leaves me starstruck? I'm trying to think of somebody who makes me nervous. When I think of starstruck, I think of nervous. I think I would be like, because I work with stars. Like, I work with Ryan Seacrest and Kelly Ripa and Hoda, and I don't feel starstruck around any of them because they feel like colleagues and peers, and they've always been so kind and nurturing to me. I'm trying to think who would make me nervous. Who would make me? It's funny. Is it bad that I don't get starstruck? I really feel like people are just people. And I find like most really high profile celebs are always like, can be disappointing, and not always fun and kind. So I don't really get starstruck.
Who
It might be, you know who it would be? Like, it would probably be like the CEO of Hearst, right? It would probably be somebody in like a very big executive position versus like somebody who's on television or has like a movie.
Well, that's your version of a star, right? It's like that's
Yeah,
what
that would be my version of a star. Like, I adore Ryan Seacrest, but it doesn't make me nervous.
right.
Like, I'm not like, oh, Ryan signed my arm. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it.
You have talked a lot about the importance of a morning routine. Let's hear yours.
So I'm an early riser. I am like the ultimate morning person. I jump out of bed. I kind of bolt out of bed. I do usually a very early morning workout, whether it's like a 6 a.m. It used to be like 5:15, 5:45. Now I can kind of do a 6 a.m. or a 6:15. I love dance cardio at AKT, and I love SLT, which is like Pilates on crack. Like, I love my morning workouts. I am a crazy person about bed making. I really find such peace out of having all the beds made. And I am that mom. I make my kids' beds. I can't help it because it just makes me feel like I've accomplished this one thing first thing in the morning, and it's going to set the tone for a really awesome day. So lots of bed making. And now that I'm not rushing into the city, it's then I buy myself flowers every Monday morning, and I'm flower arranging. I'm drinking coffee. I love putzing around my house now. It's like, I just love it. I love it when kids leave and it's quiet. Oh my gosh, it's like a gift.
That's amazing.
That's kind of the morning though. So it's like early workout, kids' routine. I mean, of course, I'm making breakfast, packing lunches, getting everybody dressed. And my husband drives everybody to school, whether or not he's going to the office or not. So then I get that moment of like, I've already worked out. I've already got the kids out of the house. And it's like, okay, I'm going to make the beds and drink some coffee, and then like leisurely check the news, check Instagram, kind of like get organized. But like my team, nobody's working at 8 a.m. I mean, so it's kind of like I own the morning and it's so magic.
I love that.
When do you think you started to be able to do that? What age were your kids?
Wait, I didn't hear you.
What age were your kids when you felt like you could start owning the morning?
My kids now are 11, 10, and 8. They like to sleep, and it's kind of awesome. Weirdly, they don't like to sleep on Saturday mornings, but during the week, when they have to get out of bed for school, they like to sleep. So, like, I can get back from the gym at 7, and they don't really need to get out of bed till like 7:15, 7:20. So I even can make the pot of coffee and have quiet then. And I have to wake everybody up. They're not getting out of bed. It's not like I've got little ones waking up at 6 a.m. Like they're sleeping. And I have to wake them up to get them up. So that's been sort of probably like the past 2 or 3 years. And it's been such a gift, like such a gift.
What is the next book you'll write?
Well, my agent is really on me about getting the proposal done, but I am working on a fully charged. Should I say the title?
Yeah. Breaking
Yeah.
news.
Okay. Life Hack Almanac.
Love it. I love that title.
Oh, that's very cool. Very
What? I
cool.
don't even know if you need the fully charged. The Life Hack Almanac is
So
dream.
Penguin Random House likes the keeping
I
it
did
in
the
the.
same. I know they did that with my books too. Yeah, but I just love the Life Hack Almanac. It's so awesome.
I just can't get the proposal done because I have so many jobs.
Right. What are your other
How long did it
jobs?
take you to do?
Well, I have the podcast, I have the
Okay.
magazine, I'm doing some speaking, and the book. I'm still because the paperback just came out, so I'm doing book promotion and speaking engagements. I do so much TV, so like I'm always prepping segments. So it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Keeps me busy.
What book are you reading?
Oh, I just finished. Okay, so my friend John Searles, who I worked with at Cosmo. He's a phenomenal writer. He's a New York Times bestselling author, but his new book is called Her Last Affair, and it's really good.
Okay.
His other books have like been made into movies, etc. Like he's amazing. And it was one of those books like I started it on vacation and I got through most of it, and then of course you come home and you come to real life, and on Mother's Day, all I wanted to do was be left alone for an hour and a half to finish my book. And I did, and I was so happy.
That's awesome.
I so understand that feeling. All right. Thank you so much, Megan. This was awesome.
Yay.
Yeah.
Amy, did I catch a slight eye roll with the word yay?
So you did, but I have to say something. There's such a positivity around the way that Megan described it that have overcome my hesitation of the word yay. And like well, but here's the thing, it's a really simple thing to be like, what is your yay? Right? Like what are yay things that happened to you today? And it's something that you can use with your kids, right? Like it's just quick and it's good and it's easy, and I should stop being snobby about it.
Well, what I love about Megan is like I share a very similar philosophy with her in the sense that like she's not Pollyanna-ish. She's not saying there are no bad moments. She's not saying everything is going to always be great. She's very realistic about it, and it's like things will mostly be good. So like let's focus on those things and let's have gratitude. So I really appreciate a lot of what she said. The way Megan and I first met was when Good Housekeeping hosted my book party, which was 6 years ago. She was an editor there, and she just stood out to me then. She just had a spark to her. And
Hmm.
in reading her book, there's so much more depth to her than I even ever understood.
I could never fathom Megan being a grumpy person. Like it
It's
does not,
wild.
those two things don't compute to me.
It's wild, and also it reading about her teen years and what a struggle they were. it really it makes you realize that, like, everything is changeable. You can always change the course of your life or your mindset or your circumstances. And I really recommend reading the book.
Amazing. Thanks for listening to What's Her Story with Sam and Amy.
We would appreciate it if you'd leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, connect with us on social media at What's Her Story Podcast.
What's Her Story with Sam and Amy is powered by my company, The Riveter, at theriveter.co, and Sam's company, Park Place Payments, at parkplacepayments.com.
Thanks to our producer, Stacey Para, and our male perspective, Lou Burns.